Hello there everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. We are on the test server today to bring you probably the craziest video I've ever done on the Hydra Clan Boss. This one really surprised me. I didn't think it was possible, but we've only gone and pulled it off, guys. Here we are with basically a full auto key using only rare champions, and we are able to one key the Hydra Clan Boss. Yep. It's happened. It has happened. I will clarify that when I say it's almost full auto, we are targeting, we're choosing the head, right? So we're leaving them to automatically do all their moves, but we are just picking and choosing the head. Basically, right, look, these are rares, you know, like we do have block buffs, thanks to Spymaster. I mention him in a few minutes. So we do have block buffs, but it's super inconsistent. So, like, for example, right here, as you can see, we've got Poison Cloud on 3 of the heads, but not on Head of Wrath. So we're just sort of picking and choosing our targets because of that. Whichever head we can actually target at a given time is completely and thoroughly random. So just making, you know, helping their AI out. They're not smart enough to figure it out themselves. So we just like pick and choose the target for them to help it out. But other than that, we're letting them just do their thing, which is it's pretty crazy, right? So let me actually break down the team. Let's take a look at it. I'm sure you recognize some of these rares, and then others you're going, who the heck is that? Like Spymaster? What the heck is a Spymaster? What are you doing? So let's go. Probably the one that everyone recognizes back right there, second from the right. Apothecary, obviously coming in. He is giving us increased speed, helping the team run fast. He is giving us spot healing on a single target to help keep them alive and topped up. And his A1 does a bit of damage, but not really much. He's basically in there as a pure support. Arguably the least important member of the team, honestly, but I do think that speed is important, particularly in combination with, well, the next champion I'll talk about, which again you probably know quite well, which is Reliquary Tender. She's on the back on the left, right there beside Apothecary. She comes in again as a really, really good Void support champion, just a rare, but she has a full team cleanse that also puts out a continuous heal on only a 3-turn cooldown, so she's very consistent on putting out that cleanse. She also has a single target revive, which for a rare is, well, rare, frankly. However, it's also not very strong. It brings them back at 30% HP, so very, very weak. Or for example, right there, you just saw her do her cleanse. She put out the continuous heal, but poor old Bellower was sat there really low on life because this is the problem with Reliquary Tender that I was running into, is that, yeah, she does do a lot of healing, but the healing comes in the form of continuous heal, which, of course, can be stolen by Head of Mischief. But even more worryingly, obviously, your champions need to take a turn. And that's where Apothecary comes in and really helps that out by giving us increased speed and turn meter fill. He helps people get to that turn so they can get healed by continuous heal. And then that single target spot healing can sort of help pick people up when they are about to fall over dead. And he just keeps them alive long enough for that heal to kick in. Then the other champion that's in here, like as that pure support, that healing support that you might not know about, but he's actually so good. He's on the far right. That is Gear Grinder, guys, and he is doing several jobs for us, which are really good. Number one, he has, as far as I'm aware, by far, the best revive out of any rare champions. His revive is pretty much equal to an epic, a lot of epic champions revives. It's sort of on that same level, where he revives a single target, of course, but he revives them with half HP and half turn meter. So his revive is significantly stronger than Reliquary Tender's. It means that you can revive someone and they'll have enough health to not just get one shot 2 seconds later, which is a really big deal. He also brings us a direct AoE heal. He heals your entire team by 15% of their max HP, which now that I say it out loud, it sounds really small, but it makes a massive difference. Again, to just fill those health bars back up so that people can survive and get around to their continuous heal. And then another fun thing he does, he might proc it here. Yes, he did. Lovely. Is that whenever he does a critical hit with his A1, which does make the gearing obviously a bit difficult. Whenever he critically hits with his A1, he gives himself the small version of continuous heal. So one of the things that we can do with him, which is quite cheeky and I think quite effective, is we can make him quite a decent filler in as a mischief tank, right? Because he's giving himself those extra continuous heals whenever he attacks. It makes the Head of Mischief target him. So by building him with high resistance, he is able then to get targeted by Head of Mischief and stop those buff steals, stop the turn meter steal. He's not fully consistent, but he's actually pretty damn good at it. especially if you give him things like reaction accessory, so he gets off counterattacks, right, with his A1. Or if you put an ally attack champion with him. Obviously, you know, in rare champions, there are no ally attack or counterattack like AoE team champions. Doesn't exist, so we don't have that. But with the accessory, you can use it and make it a bit of a difference. Ooh, we have a few people fell over dead right there. And then you can see the revive come in from him, and it's really, really good. You can see the revive from Reliquary Tender there, not quite as good. Things got a little sketchy. Bellower, he's the one that almost died right there. That's the other champion I'm sure you all know and love. Bellower is actually amazing for this. Every attack is an AoE attack. The big issue we run into is, of course, we've got no perfect veil, you know, and no Inquisitor Shamail. So we're all getting feared all the time. There's nothing we can do about that. But, you know, he actually does a ton of damage, right? Because every attack is AoE attack. Even if you don't build him for damage, you just give him War Master. He's going to do a lot of damage to Hydra. You got 4 bosses. He's hitting all of them, proccing War Master. Pretty damn good. And he also brings you some great debuffs. AoE decrease speed, AoE decrease defense, AoE decrease attack. He brings all of those really consistently. They're the small versions, mind you. They are the small versions, but still, we're talking all rares here. We'll take the small versions. Yes, please. That will be very helpful. Thank you very, very much. So Bellower is actually amazing. Then 2 champions you may not know. In the lead position is Judge. I think he's been in the game basically since the start, but you might not know him much. He's got a very interesting passive. He's basically a damage dealer. He's got actually quite good damage multipliers, and he has an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown. That's a double hitter. Blade Dance, he just did it right there. Nice thing about that, it does give him a chunk of turn meter for every critical hit. Now, we can't really stop the poison cloud very well, so he doesn't crit all the time. Like right there when he did it, he got like 1 or 2 crits. He got a tiny bit of turn meter. That was about it, I think. Didn't get too much. But the fun thing about him, he has a fun little passive, and we'll double check it now after the run, because I can't remember exactly what it does, but it basically has a small chance on every hit that he does to apply the big version of decrease attack, decrease defense, decrease speed, I believe, and decrease accuracy. Just for 1 turn, but he does have a chance to put those out. And look, this is all rares. You know, you're going all in on the randomness. So sometimes he can proc like really good stuff. Like he gets decreased defense out in a target. He gets decreased accuracy on the poison head or something like that. It can make a really big difference to your team. So yeah, it's super, super random, but I found him to be pretty nice. Like right there, you go in, you see, he put the big version of decrease attack right there on Head of Wrath. Thank you, Judge. We'll take that. He also is the only useful aura that I could find. He brings 30 accuracy in all battles. Actually quite a good aura for rares. Now, I didn't really build around it, but it's a good thing to have. We are approaching 1 key territory, guys. We're getting there. The final champion we have is Spymaster. He's on the far left. Really cool champion, actually. He's bringing us block buffs. He has AoE, block buffs. It's not very consistent, but we'll take it. It really was essential for this team to work, because Head of Blight was in the starting heads here. We're on rotation 2 on the test server. Why are we on rotation 2? Who the heck knows, but we are. But he was in there for that. He also gives himself counterattack as well, which is kind of nifty, because he can like also be a sort of Head of Mischief tank as well, which is kind of cool. And also with his A1, he can sort of strip buffs off. It's kind of like a very, very, very mini Sigmund the High Shield type thing. He can reduce buff duration with his A1, which is kind of cool. And he just sort of does a bit of damage with that counterattack. And as you can see right there, he's also really good at attacking the Head of Torment, getting himself true feared and missing his block buffs. He's really good at that as well. But there you go. We passed the 1 key, guys. We did it. 1 key locked in, less than 10 minutes in, full auto, using only rare champions. And we've certainly not had an easy time. I actually ironically think that Head of Decay, the cleansing head, which is probably the most difficult head for most runs and most teams, actually not a problem, because he didn't show up here. He'd actually be no problem. He'd be great, because we've got almost no debuffs, really bad debuffs. We don't care if they get cleansed. Whereas like this Head of Torment is a nightmare. All the poisons, the poison cloud, oh, it's awful. So yeah, that stuff's not as good. And I think this is where it starts to fall apart, right? When the Head of Mischief actually eats somebody, we've got no Hex. I don't think there's a rare champion with Hex in the game. We don't really have that much damage either. We obviously don't have Brimstone, legendary champions only. So yeah, and then bam, the Head of Wrath pops off. We almost kill Head of Wrath, which would have given us an extra chunk of damage, but there you go, guys. That was the run. 10 minutes on the dot, almost. Well, 10:02. 7.41 million damage. We did more than we needed. We did overkill. And there you go. You can see the actual damage performance and all the healing and all the rest. So obviously the big standout here is Bellower. He is 3-star awakened, which did help a bit for sure. But really, it's, you know, Phantom Touch doesn't do that crazy amount of damage because he doesn't have that much attack. His base attack is just not that high, and we weren't really able to build him with high attack either. It's really just the fact that he does AoEs with War Master that makes him so strong. Judge, similarly, not as good as Bellower. I do think you could improve this team. Just bring another Bellower, to be honest with you, and you'd be better off than bringing a Judge. But it was really fun to bring him, and he does have some really cool things that he brings to Hydra. Gear Grinder doing a decent chunk of healing. Again, it did make a difference, and the revives were very strong, plus the Mischief tanking. Reliquary Tender really doing the bulk of the healing, but it is heal over time, which is a big problem. Apothecary, it's hard to see his value, but the increased speed was good. And then actually Spymaster, in terms of the damage, this to me was a huge surprise, because I don't think I built him for damage at all. He's just throwing it out there, just for free, just for fun. So Spymaster actually doing some good damage and bringing block buffs. Let me show you these champions. Let me show you what I did. The gear is obviously pretty good, because like, it's really hard. So the gear is kind of nuts. Here we go. We can see Gear Grinder. He's got 2 revenge accessories for some of that counter attack. He is actually fairly squishy. Now, this is the problem with him. His base stats aren't terrible, but he does need that 100% crit rate, yeah? He needs 100% crit rate to get those continuous heals out. Then he needs resistance so he can Mischief tank. Then he needs speed so he's fast to do his supportive stuff. And then I'm trying to get him with as much HP as possible. So he's actually very gear intensive because he needs so many stats right there. And he wants them all to be actually quite high. But there he is. I thought he was really good. The heal isn't bad, 3-turn cooldown. And then this revive is real good. The A1 actually quite useful too. Again, specifically really for manipulating the Head of Mischief. For his Masteries, I did give him War Master. I figured, why not? Bit of extra damage. He's attacking a good amount. Probably not essential, but really not bad. And the crit rate was quite nice, to be honest. Then I do have him with Lasting Gifts, right? Chance to extend his buffs. So just trying to extend, try to extend those continuous heals so he can Mischief tank better. Upping all of his healing on the left-hand side of the tree. And Spirit Haste so he can revive a bit better. That was him. Reliquary Tender, similar stuff. I did give her Timely Intervention so that she could hopefully like get in and cleanse people, get more turns. Spirit Haste as well. Extending the continuous heals. All the same sort of stuff. I just sent her down the defense tree though. I don't know if that was the right choice or not. Probably, honestly, she was so survivable. I probably could have given her War Master as well. And it maybe would have made the run a bit better. I don't know. Anyway. She is in a regen set to keep her alive, and I just wanted to make sure someone would definitely stay alive because Gear Grinder could be a bit squishy if you got sort of hit several times in a row. 70,000 HP, guys. She's got really good base HP, so it's doable. Very fast at 250, and then she's got pretty good resistance. You know, it's not perfect, but it pretty much does the job. So that was her, and again, she's really good. This move is so good. Full cleanse, continuous heal. It does a ton of healing. And then we really had to be careful, though, with our composition, like I said, with those other supports to make sure that people would live long enough for that continuous heal to work. Small chance for decreased attack on our A1. Wasn't really that important because of Judge and Bellower, but there it is. And then the revive is pretty bad, unfortunately, for Hydra. They just tend to die, but it's better than nothing. Have I mentioned Apothecary yet with his build? I don't think so. Obviously, the increased speed. We've seen that. So he's in just a bunch of speed sets. He's up at 295 speed. And that's kind of it. He's just got some defensive stats and lots of speed. Simple as. I do think he'd probably be better with high resistance, but it doesn't hugely matter. Yeah, high resistance would be better. The heal's really nice. Again, if you give him crit rate, I suppose he'd heal more, but the heal was just good enough, as it were. The speed boost, yeah. And his masteries, he had War Master, because I think War Master with his A1 will do more when there's multiple targets, but I don't really know. You could probably run him with Giant Slayer, which is sort of the standard thing, and it'd be just fine as well. And then I give him extended buffs for more speed, but I don't know. You can kind of give him whatever, I guess. You probably. Where's Bellower? Let's look at him next. He's in with War Master and Retaliation stuff. He's getting feared all the time anyway. I figured there was no harm giving him Deterrence. I don't know. And he's in Relentless set to try get as many turns as possible, proc that War Master as much as possible. So I went for really high speed with him. I actually originally had him built with lots of damage, and then I changed my mind because he wasn't survivable enough. We had to really re-gear several of the champions for more health and defense and stuff like that. So you can see he's got about 3k attack, which is actually reasonably high considering his base attack is 1000. But the main thing was make him fast, give him a chunk of HP, and I got his defense then up to 2000 to try keep him alive. He has actually too much accuracy. He's got a bunch of crit damage, but not enough crit rate. So, you know, this could definitely be optimized a bit more. And I would also take off this Blood Shield ring. I forgot about this. This was getting him targeted a bit by Mischief, which you don't want. It's an attack ring. All this attack percent. I mean, with that base attack, there's not that much point to it, to be honest. You'd be better off with a HP ring, but whatever. He does have, again, the accuracy banner, which we probably didn't need. But that was sort of the gist with him. And again, he's coming in. The A1, not so good here, but really good for Doom Tower Hard, by the way. But yeah, AoE with a good chance of decreased speed. Great. Really good for Hydra. And then another AoE with a really good chance for decreased attack, decreased defense. Excuse me. So that was just super, super good. I did give him Phantom Touch. It's a bit of extra damage. It's nothing crazy. None of the rare blessings are that good. This is a really good single target, but against multiple heads, it only hits one. But it's still solid, so that's what I go with for any of the damage here. Then we had Judge. Yes, Judge. So he does more damage on his A1. This could probably hit really hard. Well, we don't have that many debuffs. It's all rares. But then he's got this double hitter, giving him turn meter. Really good skill set. And then this passive I mentioned, 30% chance. Decrease accuracy, speed, attack, or defense. The big versions for a turn. Really great, right? Because this is a double hitter AoE. It's super random. It's so random, but it works out pretty well. I have him in Relentless to try get around to that move as much as possible. He's got too much accuracy, and his speed's a bit low. So I do think that if you built him with higher speed, he'd be really, really good. I've obviously built him, and again, you can see the initial thing as well. Built him with really high damage and then had to switch around trying to get to that 2k defense, 40,000 HP mark or higher just to keep him alive. So I think he, for example, yeah, he's got a HP ring, defense banner, that stuff, right? Just to try keep him in there in the game. Like I said, ditching some accuracy for more speed would be great. Just speed, speed, speed for him with Relentless. And just let him go to town, right? He doesn't have full crit rate either. I couldn't get it with my gear. I would get him with 100% crit rate though, because it does give him all that turn meter here on this A2. So just cycle around more, place more of these debuffs, all good. We have him with a better chance to place debuffs and hopefully to extend them as well. And of course, War Master, which is going to do most of the damage. Then the final champion here today, I did try to get Prosecutor in. That was what I did a video on Prosecutor earlier today. Not sure when these two videos are going to come out. That was my initial motivation to do this. Unfortunately, I ended up benching her. She's fine. She's good, but not good enough. Like compared to Bellower, for example. Bellower brings the worst version of decreased speed, but he brings just so much more. I thought he was much better for this. But Spymaster, here he is. Look at this skill set. 40 bucks to what? 60% chance to decrease 2 random buffs on the target by 1 turn. Head of Wrath will never have increased attack again. Well, I mean, he'll have it for most of the time, but he'll have it for slightly less. 60% of the time. Oh yes, it does make a difference. It's kind of nifty. He's got the AoE 4-turn cooldown with a 60% chance of block buffs. Super unreliable, but it's better than nothing. And then he has, counterattack on himself and provoking 2 random enemies. So, I mean, there's a 50-50 that he'd provoke Head of Decay if he came into cleanse. So that's kind of nice. Again, in this all rare team, I don't really see the point. There's no point really. Just let the guy cleanse. It's not that bad. But yeah, the counterattack, I do think it actually added up, funny enough, to a decent chunk of extra damage. So, like, he did pretty good damage, HP-based champion. And as you can see, like, he's not built for, he's got 40% crit rate, 100% crit damage. So he was doing really good damage with no real damage built. He's got high HP, decent defense, and he's got lots of resistance, so he can mischief tank. Really overkill him resistance, actually. And he's in the Guardian set to try to heal us and keep the team alive. 1 second. Stuff buzzing, but it's not important. And for his Masteries, War Master obviously is where the damage is coming from, with the counterattacks and the AoE here. That's where the damage is coming from. I gave him obviously Sniper to try give him a better chance of block buffs, you know, and then hopefully extend that block buffs. it's really not that impressive. You know, you're going down the support tree. I was like, would I get him lasting gifts just to extend that counterattack maybe a turn every now and then? I was like, I don't know. I decided to go for the better chance for block buffs because I thought that's what I really want. And he worked out reasonably well. So there you are, guys. All rare team. The all rare team does the job. One key Hydra normal, and it was full auto, semi-auto, semi-full auto, you know, picking the target, but not having to think about the skills. 10 minutes, bam, done. The gear's obviously, you know, really good. I think the main takeaway I want for you to take from this really is just ideas for like building teams and team synergies. And especially for earlier players, maybe you picked up a couple of ideas, a couple of rares that are like, oh, that would actually fit really well into my team and fill a gap that, you know, I have in my team. That's basically the point. Obviously, all of these champions can be and should be ultimately replaced by epic and legendary versions that do similar things, but much better, much more consistent. But yeah, rares, 7.41 million. Can't complain. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed seeing the impossible happen. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.